Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a long overdue February reading wrap up. I am feeling a bit behind on content lately, both for both my YouTube channels, TikTok, Instagrams, all of the things. I did read 12 books in the month of February, but before I hop into my mini reviews and ratings, if you're new here, hello, my name is Emily. This is MacInnis Mama, where you will find mostly bookish content. I have recently started a book talk and a bookstagram, and all of my socials are linked in the description box. So if you want to follow me on other platforms, I would love if you did. And now let's hop into the 12 books I read in the month of February. The first book I read in February was The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I gave this 3 stars. This is a gothic, thrillery haunted house type novel set in 1800s Mexico. I absolutely loved the setting of 1800s Mexico combined with the haunted house. It was really fun to read from, but I really loved that aspect, and then I really didn't love some other parts of this book, so I met my rating like somewhere in the middle and gave it 3 stars. There was this like forbidden love romancy thing trying to happen, which I really did not like, and then there were some like magical elements, and not in like, obviously like a horror-y haunted house is like fantastical, but there was like witchy magic, kind of, not quite, incorporated like at the very end, and it just felt so out of place to me. I don't know, I really didn't enjoy that aspect either, so 3 stars. Next I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This was kindly gifted to me by my beautiful friend Oksana. I gave this book 3 stars. One Dark Window is a young adult romantasy. It has a gothic, like misty, sinister, foresty kingdom setting, which was amazing. And we're following our main character Elspeth, and she has a monster living inside of her head. There's this really interesting magic system that's like a deck of tarot cards, and Elspeth gets roped into this almost like a coup against the ruling family. I don't know, it's a little bit tricky to understand. There's a found family aspect in here. I absolutely loved all of those elements. However, what knocked a star down was Elspeth. How do I put this? She reveals a secret that she has kept for over a decade in the most like illogical way, and its purpose is to get the plot moving forward in this book, but it just didn't make sense to me. I feel like her secret could have come out in a little bit more of an organic way within this story. I don't know if I'm making any sense, because again, I don't want to spoil anything. If you've read this book, I hope you will know what I mean. Next I read The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell on audio from my library. This is a sequel to The Family Upstairs, which I read earlier this year and absolutely loved. That was so dark, twisty, culty elements of a thriller. And this was like a super unnecessary sequel. This was a like fan requested sequel, if you know what I mean. Like, it wasn't intended to be a book, but then everyone wanted to know what happens from here. So I just feel like it was a bit more thrown together. I gave it 3 stars, and this was less thrillery and more detective mystery, and it tied up all of the like loose ends in this nice little bow, and the very ending was very sweet, very satisfying. But I just feel like that, like the ending of the second book could have just been the epilogue to the first book. On Valentine's Day, I read Cupid's Peak by Lee Jacquot. This is a romance novella, part of her Holly Nights series. All of these are like under 200-page romance novellas set on different holidays. So on Valentine's Day, I read the Valentine's one. These are very enjoyable. This is like a second chance romance, I guess. And then the kink in this book is voyeurism, like public. I then wanted another short, quick, lighthearted, feel-good read, so I reread Heartstopper Volume 1. My oldest son is currently reading. I don't know if he's read the 5th book or that's what he's waiting for from his school library, but he has been reading the Heartstopper series. We don't own it, we don't have it within the home, so he's been getting them from his school library, really loving them. And I also love Nick and Charlie, so I wanted to reread Volume 1 so that him and I could chat about it, and it's 5 stars. It's just so wholesome. I love Heartstopper. The next book I read on audio from my library was The Silent Patient by Alex MacInnis. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I ended up giving this 4 stars. This is a thriller, and we're following this woman who kills her husband and then never talks again. So she is put in a like mental hospital, and we're following a psychiatrist who believes that he is going to be the one to finally get her to speak. And I was not expecting the twist in this. I found this really enjoyable. I mentioned this, I believe, in my January wrap-up, that I have discovered I love listening to thrillers on audiobook. They're just so fast-paced, and I don't find myself tuning out like I can with some fantasy books especially. I just kind of get lost in the details and start thinking of other things. And I like listening to audiobooks while I do my makeup, while I'm doing the dishes, things like that, where my hands and my eyeballs are occupied on something else. Next, I read the 3rd volume of Spy X Family. This is a manga series that, again, my oldest son and I are really enjoying. It's been so much fun to read books with my children now that they're older. Like, they can read it on their own, and then I can read it as well. He has read up to 8, I think. So I'm on 3. I'm behind Max. In this manga series, you're following Twilight, who is a spy, and he has a mission to infiltrate this very elite private school. And in order to do this, he needs to assemble a family as part of his mission. So he gets a wife who turns out to be an assassin, but he doesn't know that. He thinks that she just works at City Hall as like a secretary, and then they have to adopt a child to get into this elite private school. And they pick this kid up at the orphanage. She just looks so cute, but she turns out to be a telepath, and the family just gets into so many silly situations. These are so much fun. I gave this volume 4 stars. The next book I finished was House of Flame and Shadow. I have a full reading vlog for this up on my channel. I gave this 4 stars because I did have a really fun time reading this book, buddy reading it with Sam, of course, but the more I sit on it, the more I want to knock it down to 3. There were just characters acting out of character. There was so many like super slow parts that definitely could have been cut down, but I feel like the publisher needed Sarah J. Maas to have this be 800 pages-ish, just like the other 2. The crossover situation, no spoilers, was not what I was expecting or what I wanted. I don't know. I was kind of disappointed with this, but my rating on Goodreads right now is 4 stars. Next, on audio, once again, I have been becoming an audiobook girly. I read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I didn't have too many expectations about this book. Like, I've just seen it floating around, and so I put a hold into my library. It took a million years for me to get it, and it just popped up in my Libby app, so I listened to it because it was like an 8 or 9 hour audiobook, I feel like, and I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. These Ashley Poston, her more newer releases are adult romances with speculative, like paranormal elements, but they're not what I would call like a paranormal romance in the sense of like vampires or something like that. We are following Florence Day, who is a ghost writer for a very famous author, and it's a romance between her and her editor, publisher, something like that. But Florence's family owns a funeral home, and Florence and her dad both see and can speak to ghosts. And I'm gonna leave it there, but this took me by surprise and I absolutely loved it. Then we come to another book that I really did not enjoy. This is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. This is an older thriller that I've had on my shelf for a million years. I gave this 2 stars. I did not enjoy this. We are following Rachel, who takes the same train at the same time to and from work. I mean, if you commute like that, I'm sure you understand, especially if you take like a public transportation situation, like you tend to see the same people the same time of day. I remember when I worked in the city and I would take the city transit bus, you'd see a lot of the same people going to the same places, of course, same as you going to work. And she notices something strange when she's on the train one day, and we're following this mystery of a missing woman. Rachel is an alcoholic and she is very unreliable, but so is pretty much every other character. Every character in here is unlikable, every character in here lies. So I don't really like thrillers where like a narrator or like our characters are unreliable because of things like alcohol and not just like memory loss or something. Nobody is who they say they are. I don't know. I didn't like it, okay? But we ended February on a very high note with 2 more 5-star reads. I had so much fun reading in February. Next up, I read That One Night by Emily Rath. This is the prequel to the Jacksonville Rays, which is a hockey romance series. This is a novella that goes first. It's a little over 100 pages and is available on Kindle Unlimited. This was a fabulous spicy time and I'm really excited to continue with this series. We are following a girl named Rachel who is drowning her sorrows at a bar, even though she is supposed to be at her brother's wedding brunch reception, something like that, but she got some bad news, so she's drowning her sorrows at the bar, and a man comes to her rescue when this other guy will not leave her alone, and they spend the night together. It was so good. And lastly, Heartless by Elsie Silver. Easy 5 stars. This is part of the Chestnut Springs series. The tropes in here are single dad, nanny, romance. Cade is grumpy and heartless. Willa is a red-headed firecracker who has commitment issues, not just with men in her life, but also choosing a career, like where she wants to live, all of these things. Love this. 5 stars. As I said, Cade Eaton is my new favorite book boyfriend. I'm pretty sure there is an age gap in here, and yes, he's seen as heartless, but he's gone through a lot of really traumatic things. So awkward. My camera died in the middle of my rant about, positive rant, rave review of Heartless. But I don't know exactly where I left off, but all you need to know is that I absolutely loved this book. So I had a really fantastic reading month in February, and I hope that continues into March. We are 3 weeks into March now. I am so sorry. I'm hoping to get back on track here as quickly as I possibly can, but 12 books for me is really good. There were quite a few shorter books. We had a manga, a graphic novel, things like that, but I had a lot of 5-star reads and a few that I didn't love, but that's okay. in the comments below, I would love if you would let me know your last 5-star read. I love chatting with you guys in the comments. If you enjoyed this reading wrap up, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!